Hello, everyone. If you don't know me, I am Pastor Joey Klinger. I serve as pastor of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Coatesville, but more importantly in this context, I also serve as Parliamentarian of the Synod. The Parliamentarian's role is to make sure we follow the rules of the Assembly. These rules come from our Constitution, our Rules of Procedure, and Robert's Rules of Order. I know that sounds like a lot, but I promise if you have ever been in a formal meeting, be that a church council, a community organization, or other group, you've probably used a form of these rules. And you don't need to know them all. That's why I'm here, to make sure we stay on track when we gather to meet. At our upcoming Synod Assembly, we will be doing a couple things. We'll be worshiping together, learning together, but also doing the business of the church. We'll be electing members to Synod offices, we'll be passing the budget, and voting on memorials. So how does all that happen? Well, first you need to know when it's happening. And you can do that by consulting the agenda, which can be found online at ministrylink.org/2026-synod-assembly. The agenda will tell us what we are doing when. We will pass the agenda at the beginning of our time together, and any changes to it will have to be announced and in some cases voted on during the meeting. So you will always know what is coming next. Also, remember, we try and stick to the times in the agenda, but sometimes something goes long or short, so some flexibility is also key. Now, once we know when something is happening, how is it happening? Well, let's first start with elections. There are multiple synod-level positions that need to be elected this year. This process will start with the report of the nominating committee. The nominating committee has been working diligently to find nominees from within our synod membership to run for synod-level positions. Their report will bring up each ticket that is open for election. This is the only time you can nominate people from the floor for election. So if you have a nomination to make from the floor, do it during the nominating committee report, because you will not be able to after that report is finished. If you are making a nomination from the floor, please make sure to check with the person you are nominating that they in fact want to be nominated. They have to agree to be put in nomination, so make sure they want to before you bring up their name. The nominating report will go through each individual ticket. If you have a nominee for that ticket, the chair of the meeting, in this case the bishop, will say, "Are there any nominations from the floor?" That is your time to make the nomination if you wish. After that, the bishop will declare nominations closed, and we will move to the next ticket. If there are just enough nominees for the number of positions open, then those nominees will be declared elected, because there is no need for balloting and voting. If there are more nominees than positions available, then we will hold balloting and voting for those positions later in the meeting. How do we vote? Well, there are two main ways we will vote, either with red and green cards that you'll receive upon your arrival with your name tag, or by paper ballot. The red and green cards will be used for most votes, and the chair of the meeting will ask you when it is time to vote to hold up a green card for a yes vote or a red card for a no vote. Remember, green is yes, red is no. We will use paper ballots, written, for certain votes that need more specificity in vote count, or if names are involved, like voting for our synod-wide positions. In that case, ballots will be distributed at the time of voting with instructions on how to vote. Beyond elections, we will also be looking at the budget for the synod and memorials that were submitted to be considered by the assembly. These are handled in a similar fashion. When the budget or a memorial comes up, it will be brought to the floor either by the finance team in the case of the budget or reference and counsel in the case of memorials. Once they are presented, then there will be time for debate. During debate, you are invited, if you have something to say, to come to one of the microphones and speak to the budget or the memorials. When you approach the microphone, please hold up either your red or green card to indicate if you wish to speak in favor or against what is currently being discussed. A green card in favor, and a red card means against. When you approach the microphone, do not start speaking until the chair calls on you. The chair will directly invite you to speak at the microphone. When you start speaking, please first share your name and ministry context before you start making your point. You can then go on to make your point after stating your name and ministry context. You have a time limit of 2 minutes at the microphone to make your point. We also try and alternate between points for whatever is on the floor and against. That is why we ask you to approach with the green card or red card. You will also receive a white card. The white card is used for procedural questions. For example, if you don't understand what is currently being discussed, If you don't know where we are in the agenda, if you don't have all the information you need, you can approach a microphone with your white card to ask your question. Again, wait for the chair of the meeting, most often the bishop, to acknowledge you before you ask your question. And again, be sure to share your name and ministry context before asking your question. Finally, if you approach with a white card, don't leave the microphone till your question is answered. I would encourage you, however, to first check with those members around you about your question before you stop the whole assembly. Sometimes your neighbors can help you before you need to come to the microphone. You can also use your white card to call the question. This means if we are debating about the budget or a memorial and you feel we have had enough debate, you can rise with your white card and call the question. This will force the assembly to vote on whether they want to end debate. If they vote to end debate, then we will immediately vote on what the business that is in front of us is. If the assembly votes to continue debate, then debate will continue. After debate has ended, we will vote much like we do for elections, either using the colored cards or via a ballot on whatever is in front of the assembly. We will have access to some lovely screens at our Synod Assembly that will be up front and should display any information as is needed or being discussed. But if you would like to access the documents on a personal device or you need the text bigger, you can always get them at ministrylink.org/2026-synod-assembly. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or find me at Synod Assembly. My email is jklinger@luth, L-U-T-H, good, G-O-O-D, shep, S-H-E-P.org. That's jklinger@luthgoodshep.org. I'm here to answer any questions you may have. And please try to take time to fully join in the assembly when you get there. It's not often our synod gets together, all of us, to worship, to praise, to fellowship, and to make decisions. So lean in and see how the Spirit is moving us in that place. Thank you all.